I feel like some corporates will never change. Things like the government.
Yeah, the government.
Forget. There's no way you're gonna get maybe CS or PS role if you don't have the papers to prove for it. That also goes again to things like if you want to lecture or I don't know, they will never change. So I think that's a very big con. But the good thing is the big tech, watu kona pesa.
Yep.
You know? These days
external
probably
companies.
I don't think they look for
global tech.
Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Global Tech Sailors. Another episode where we are a full house, and today we are going to be talking about the shenanigans going on Twitter. There has been some very, stimulating conversations going on Twitter, and this topic tends to come up each and every time. Kilonzi advised it will be best if I gave a disclaimer before I started this episode. By saying that these are our opinions based on our experiences. So, yes, do not judge us, do not critique. This is just us giving our opinions.
Do not project.
Yes. But you're very welcome to give your comments, to give your experiences. Just tell us anything you want to tell us about the episode. So, today we are going to be talking about computer science graduates versus non-computer science graduates.
Quacks.
Into brackets, into quotation marks, quacks versus graduates.
I wanted to say we have some of our videos.
And your very host for this episode is the quack here. And I have another quack looking at me. So I think you will start by telling us a bit about yourself. And you can join it together by telling us, you can share your experience. And then you can tell us something about your learning curve.
Also, now maybe before we go to that point, I think besides the non-serious part of it, it's just part of the banter, guys. But there's been a lot of discussion online. Not even recently, like since day one, you always have people asking questions. Do I need to be a computer science graduate to succeed as a developer? Does the degree matter now that my skills can show for themselves? Do I need to advance in education for me to thrive in the tech space? And what does it say? Does it really matter?
Yeah.
So this whole conversation is just for the audience and just to ask you also have a conversation around, even you ask yourself, if you're a graduate, how much difference has it been is cost in your career as compared to someone who didn't, and how do all these things come together?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I am Diana Mongina, the quack. I'm not a quack though. I do my best and I deliver the best. Anyway, Diana Mongina, I am a software engineer, upcoming data scientist, a mental health activist, and environmentalist. So, in the spirit of the conversation, I joined tech after my degree. I did environmental science in university, which didn't take me too far, unfortunately. But at least I do some things related to that nowadays. So what motivated me to join tech? The main point was nilikuwa nateseka, guys.
Okay.
Kilikuwa kimeniramba, but yeah, so I had a friend who was doing tech. He was also from a finance background. So, and he had started just learning for himself. Then he told me, by the way, that was a funny story, because I saw he was looking for, I don't know what was there, but it was something related to tech. Mimi nikajitocha hapo, ilikuwa Facebook. Those days Facebook was booming. So he posted something that I'm looking for this and this person. You can DM me. I DM'd him. Then he told me we can meet. There was a restaurant hapo place tukua tunaishi. It was in Eldoret. Then we went. He told me what he does and what he wanted help with. I didn't have a clue because it was tech, tech deep stuff for tech, and I didn't know. Kamwambia too honestly, but then I don't know what you're talking about. I just wanted to get to learn these things that people talk about tech. Surprisingly, Oko Eldoret, it is not the way you hear people are in startup events, tech events. It's not very rampant to Kama. It's not something that, okay, maybe nowadays it happens, but when I was there, it was not very tunapata tu every time.
Yeah.
It's because I'm in this field right now. maybe that could be the reason. But there was no, so I was just curious to understand what is this thing called tech and how does it work. So after Hapo, he told me, you can do this. I can help you grow in that field. This is what you can start with. Can you pair to a roadmap to follow? If I need help, I can ask him for help. And that is how I started gaining interest. Then I apply for some bootcamp. Got the bootcamp. That's why I'm here. Yeah, the learning curve was very tough. It's still tough because you'll get to learn every day, every single day. But now, in Andanga, it becomes easier. You get used to the learning. It doesn't become easier, but you get used to the fact that you have to keep learning each and every single day. Yeah, it is my journey.
Okay, so from the quack to the graduate, let's hear from Rona.
So I did a computer technology bachelor's degree. Again, after that, I moved. After finishing my 4-year degree, I decided to also go to a tech bootcamp. So that's my short story. That's what I did.
I have a question on that short story. After you graduated from the computer tech degree, did you try to get a job or get into the industry before going into the bootcamp, or it was just a continuation?
Yeah, that's a good one, a heavy one. Yes, I really tried to get a job in tech, but I couldn't. Okay, I was getting a lot of failed rejections, and so I decided to go back. So I did decide to look for a job, but just to note again, when I was in my 4-year studies, I focused a lot on networking. I feel that sometimes when you're an entry person, it's quite
very difficult,
tricky. And so I joined the bootcamp to gain to fully concentrate on software.
Okay.
So again, it wasn't an issue of skills.
It wasn't an issue of skill. It was an issue of specialization.
Yes.
Okay.
So you didn't specialize as a software developer?
I didn't. I never did. I didn't like it then.
Okay.
Yeah.
We moved to another graduate. Okay, let me speak the quack. So,
people are calling themselves.
No, I said again in quotations. Anyway, this is me basically. I graduated again. I did a non-computer degree, information science. But the thing is, I always feel it was somehow related because, as I said, in 4th year, I specialized in knowledge management, which is literally systems. Because I remember for my project, again, I created a system which I never gave to the school because why would they give you something you're not paying for? Anyway,
correct.
So I built the system. It existed in my machine, and after I gave out the machine, it went with the project.
Localhost.com.
Yeah, localhost.com. But I got again the issue of friends come up. So when I was in attachment, a friend sends me a link and they tell me, this is a bootcamp for tech. Do you want to sign up? And I was like, why not? What's the worst that can happen? So I sign up. I go through a series of interviews. I think Mongina and Rona can relate. So I got picked at the end of it all. We go into it, and I remember struggling with HTML and CSS, which was very funny because I couldn't even write code in HTML, CSS. I struggled. If you look at my first project, I think it's still on my GitHub. It's as blank as ever. I've never changed anything. I normally go back and look at it, and then I come back and look at what I can build right now, and I'm like, that's growth. So the learning curve has been good because I'm proud of where I am at currently. But as Mongina said, it's not easy. So you get used to learning.
Yeah.
Over to the graduates.
I stumbled upon computer science personally because I was initially a business student, but I switched to computer science. And I switched because I loved it. I had just been introduced to programming, and I realized that I was actually good at it. I could help people. People were in my room in the Sunday evenings when the assignment is due, and I was like, okay, maybe this is not so bad. So that's how I switched my major from business administration to computer science, which I was able to do for the course of 4 years. While I was in school, so maybe we would close for the summer. Then during summer break, I would go for an internship, free or unpaid, or 10,000 shillings pay. But I think the internship really informed me what I needed, especially what the industry needs and how I can prepare for that. So the internships I'd done really made me realize that, software development is what I want to do. So for me, before I graduated, actually in the final semester, I got a job before I graduated. There's a company, the school came around and did some career fair. Then during the career fair, some companies came around, we interviewed, then I got a job. So by the time I graduated, I had already gotten a job in tech as an associate software engineer.
I heard that's what they're calling interns nowadays.
Associates.
Yeah, associates.
Yeah. Just to...
No, this was a full-time position. Please don't downplay.
No, it was a by the way.
Yeah. I think,
noted. It's all banter.
I think I forgot to... you just spoke of it, and then I remembered a key aspect I missed in my line is I also did internships during attachment. That's I know in Ghana you call them internships. Okay, here it's attachment.
Okay.
Where you're given nothing.
Yeah, and I did it again in IT, but now again networking. I was there. Nilikuwa naenda kuinstall fiber optics
cables
huko guys. That was me networking Apple. Yeah, so
I think and also now then it speaks to the fact that if you're even in school trying to do something, you realize that if you get some sort of exposure, you're more likely to venture into that or specialize into that.
Yes.
And deep down, maybe you didn't know if that company that you did fiber installations, if they absorbed you straight out of school, maybe you wouldn't even be doing software development. Yes.
This is on a very light note. Do you normally wear those dungarees or grease when you go?
Women in science.
Like the bolts people of KPLs.
Oh, KPLs.
That's us.
These are the ones making the memes.
But then I was so good in even, it's called, how is it? Clipping Ethernet cables, such things. That's what I was doing, guys.
I'll call you to connect to my Wi-Fi.
Handy Rona. Okay. So, I think we've heard both sides of the story. We've heard from the graduates and we've heard from the non-graduates. Okay, people who didn't pursue a computer science degree. But then now the question becomes, because I want this to be like a 1 point, navigating the job market and also the pros and cons.
Yeah.
So would you mind maybe talking now about how has maybe for the person who studied a computer science degree, how has it impacted your skills in navigating the job market? And do you feel now for this other person who hasn't pursued one, do you feel it has disadvantaged you in a way?
Disadvantaged me?
No, like now this is for me who hasn't done a computer science degree.
Okay.
But then for you, also you can talk about, do you have any disadvantages? Let's even, because you might be having some.
Right.
Let's start with you, Rona.
I'll start with the pros of doing what I think with the CS degree and all that. I feel like it exposes you a lot. As you've had, I was doing networking. Through my 4-year studies, I was able to know there is database, there's networking, there is hardware, there is there was another one, software, robotics, all these things. I think that's a pro because you are able to see the different fields in the IT world. So that's the first pro for me.
So how did that impact you now when you are looking for a job?
Exposure. I feel like it gives you a very wide pool to know, okay, where do I want to venture into? For me at the time, I remember I was doing programming, but it wasn't speaking to me. So I decided, okay, networking speaks to me more. Databases, I like it. The hardware stuff, I also like it. But it gives you the exposure to know. At the end of the day, you got a lot of choices so that you can be able to explore and know your niche. That's what I would say.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Over to you.
For me, I think the pro is you get to know how to learn things for yourself. Like that's basically what bootcamps helps you to become, because there's that vitu zinaenda mbio, like there's intensity in learning, so you'll have to come back, learn and relearn alone. So you get to have the self-learning ability, which is very important in this field. You'll never be told everything. Leo utaambiwa, let's do React tomorrow, let's do Next.js. You have to learn Next.js alone. Hautashinda umeenda bootcamp kila time.
Yeah.
I also think the negative or the disadvantage.
Before you go to the negative, just to add on your point, and I think it's a very good difference between us, because now that you know you have to go to the extent, mi nitakuwa hapa niko, I know these things, but you're there sending yourself. Like unajituma vibaya sana. So I feel like it gives you good pressure. Kujituma kabisa.
I also think the people with degrees have a lot of theory, which you should have ideally, but in bootcamps,
we're looking for the skills.
2 projects, you learn a few tips in software, in front end, back end, but now in the 4 years, utakuwa umelearn a lot of theory that you really need to know. Now in the bootcamp, you'll have to learn. Utakuwa unaongea na mtu wa degree na kwambia, "Bete, najua internet ilianza aje?" Kusoma internet ilianza. You have to understand how the internet started so that you know how hizo vitu zina connect from the back end to the front end. Like,
etc. Okay.
And also in that same sphere is also I think there's something about, forget that the practical part of the computer science is the theory is very important sometimes, because in tech you're problem solving, and if you're problem solving, you have to think about something from a place of not the actual part of doing it, but also the background of it, the architecture, the actual design of it. And if you have the theory part of, okay, I'm trying to create a database, and this database, I need to make sure that these are tied transactions, it's a multi-step transaction. How do I make sure that it's solid enough for me to, in case something breaks, then I can go back and implement maybe atomicity. You have some key terms that even without knowing what to implement, how to implement it, at least you have an idea. Yeah. And also, software development is about Googling. Yeah. Sometimes you Google what you know in theory.
Yeah.
So context. It also, the context is very important. Yeah. And that's, I feel like it's one of the advantages of having a degree, of having a bootcamp knowledge.
And just to build up on that, I feel like, you see, in these most interviews, sometimes when you go there, you probably, when you're in an interview, they throw these two simple questions. Yeah. But now because you don't have the context, like when you, Diana, you've said, able explain to us, how does the internet work? And you very simple, but very few people will know and ace it, and that's how you're out. So again, the context bit is quite important.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Kilonzi, over to you.
Another advantage I say is, I think for me, now working as a software engineer, I've worked in various industries. I've been in consultancy, I've been in academia, I've been in healthcare and tech. I'm now in airline.
Damn.
I'm now in the airline industries. And I think one of the things that has helped me navigate all those industries is the fact that I have contextual knowledge, like we said. Like sometimes a lot of these things I don't need to know. Like yesterday I was doing something to do with Episerver. It's a CMS. I did WordPress when I was in school, but Episerver is a whole different new CMS. But just by the application of knowledge, I'm able to translate that. And I can easily navigate. So my learning is, yes, tech is quickly learning. Everyone has to keep learning. But with contextual information or something that you've seen before, you can easily solve it. It becomes easier. Yeah. And I think one of the advantages I've seen also as a software engineer is the ability to design systems ground up. You're not just thinking about, okay, I have 3 tables, they need to relate to each other. You think from, okay, these are business principles. These are the business principles of it. If this breaks down, how can we move things? How do we make sure that things like we have layers of abstraction to these things that maybe you are more worried about, but I'm also more worried about the sustenance of that. Yes, one of those things.
Okay, makes sense. So I think for me, I have both pros and cons, because thinking of it, an advantage would be, as Mongina said, you're learning to learn. So literally, I know I have to keep myself updated.
Yes.
So unajituma, literally, because you have to put yourself out there constantly.
Yeah.
And then I think the biggest disadvantage is now when you start looking for jobs, and then on that the qualifications, a computer science degree. And then you go back and you look at your degree and it's totally different from what they want. But nevertheless, I still apply even if I don't have that computer science degree.
Yeah, of course.
You throw in that CV, the worst that can happen.
Of course. And you also go and talk about your projects as well.
Yeah.
I think we really don't talk about, I feel like in Kenya, in Africa, we are not really exposed enough. Traditional corporate companies are still not accepting self-taught software developers, self-taught techies as at an equal level as computer science graduates. And sometimes, I mean, truth be told, a self-taught person is sometimes way better in a particular field as compared to a graduate. But traditional corporate, I'm talking about banks, I'm talking about these traditional companies. Sometimes traditional managers, they don't even consider you.
Yeah,
and
as
I think
long as you
sometimes it's unfair. And really, we really don't want to dictate which people you want to hire, but also it's also a point. Maybe it's time for you to make to give people a chance and get to know what exactly they can build for you to, before you disqualify them regardless of their degree.
I think on that, I feel like I had just to build up on your con. I feel like some corporates will never change. Things like the government.
Yeah, the government.
Forget. There's no way you're gonna get maybe CS or PS role if you don't have the papers to prove for it. That also goes again to things like if you want to lecture or I don't know, they will never change. So I think that's a very big con. But the good thing is the big tech, watu kona pesa.
Yep.
You know? These days probably
external companies.
I don't think they look for
global tech.
Yeah. They circle onto the skills, right? And your projects.
It's the Silicon Valley companies. Like so most of them are right now looking at skills.
Yes.
You'd find that even if you don't have a computer science degree, most of them don't care, especially the startups. They don't. And you'd find that the money are in these startups. So you get your money.
Jobs, most
a lot of remote jobs actually, they don't care about your degree, they care about the projects you build and your portfolio.
But kama nyinyi mnataka kuingia government, KRA pale.
And the other one, I think also there's also the other advantage. If you have a computer science degree, it's also it's an advantage to you guys, it's also an advantage to us, because
you get
if you want to grow, if you want to grow, let's say I started as a software engineer, I want to become a lead, I want to become a CTO, I want to become like in that tech field, growing into a head, team lead, all these things. It's easier if I have a background in the in a tech degree as compared to someone who doesn't have.
That's if we are both good enough. Like
Yes.
if you're put on the same table.
Yes.
Probably
They are more likely to choose me than they are to choose you.
Yeah, because that's
Unless of course you maybe add a master's or an MBA.
Yeah.
I'm seeking to do a master's, by the way.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Go
In
for
what
it.
Actually,
environmental?
it will be in computer science, I think, something around data analytics or data science.
Wow.
Yeah, that gives you a
Yeah, so that I may leave Mongina in this quack kingdom. Quack kingdom.
I have another.
I also have plans,
sorry.
but I'm not talking about them. So
Build in private.
And people will put no, maybe somebody out there is going to listen and then they'll give me a scholarship.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, well, Diana is doing
A closed mouth
maybe I
cannot
have
be
a
said.
scholarship already, but I'm not talking about it.
Do you though? The question is,
Sikia mtaniona London, mta like aliongea akasema. Anyway,
amen to that. The amen.
I was to differ from the
I
point
had a-
because sorry.
Oh, so,
You can continue.
I know of a tech lead from a company that I was working on. It was a big company. And they have never gone to, as in they don't have a degree in computer science. But they're the most intelligent. He's the most intelligent person in that, and he's the tech
natural
lead
genius.
kwa hiyo kampuni.
My point is not to say that you won't get the opportunity. I'm talking about the probability.
Oh.
yeah.
The statistics of if you and I were put on that same ground and we are both smart, maybe there was no other smart
No,
person.
there were
But
smart
also-
people in that company.
No, what I'm trying to say is if you look at traditional corporate, traditional work environments, and also because of audit stuff,
Yeah,
the board of
especially
directors,
that.
especially because a lot of these companies are audited to scrutinize why someone
Yeah.
qualified for that position. They are more likely to scrutinize that person more on their qualification level as compared to, they'll see, degree computer science or MBA tech entrepreneurship. They're more likely to just tick on that and pass as compared to grilling you in an interview to question your qualification, not because you can't perform in the role. Qualification does not have any impact on performance. We all know that, right?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
skills.
You can get into a job easily, but how you perform is different from how I perform, regardless of the qualifications. Yeah, so it's more about the scrutiny that someone goes through to assess their qualification for a particular position, regardless, because of their papers. The papers will get you through the door as compared to you have to explain yourself. Do you understand?
I also think it is because it is a global thing. So
Yes.
in the global, you don't really consider.
If it's a global company, then maybe that's why.
Yeah. It's the same way you would be considered
or a remote
better for
job.
an environmental
Mm-hmm.
job than me.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you
It's
applied to
exactly the
UN,
same.
yeah.
You would be given more priority than me.
Because they would be wondering what
the
does
environmental
what's
thing
that
and
do?
everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
exactly.
since actually people are going green, go green, and then Mongina is there, environmental champion.
They don't know she's been coding and forgetting about this environment.
I had a con on
Yes.
the CS.
Uh-huh.
So the biggest con I would say for a CS is most of our curriculum in the universities, especially public, not all of them. I think there are some which are quite good in Kenya. I will sample out. I was able to stay with some
Don't mention
Strathmore.
names.
Oh, okay. All right. It's a...
Not paid ad.
All right.
But please feel free.
Yeah, for
That's
like...
not a public university though.
Yeah,
It's a
I'm
private
saying
one.
for... Okay, when I compare, not all of them are bad, but for in Kenya, I was able to sit down with some Strathmore students and I could see there was a very big gap between what I did and what they were doing. They are very practical and
Yes.
they are they emphasize on the practical curriculum other than us who are taught on theory and some things that were outfaced 100 years ago. Like I did Pascal. Really? Really?
I
Guys.
didn't know it was a language until I met Ron.
So I think that's the biggest disadvantage.
We actually talked about it in an episode for last season.
Yeah.
take a look at digital literacy in Africa.
Yes.
In
We
Africa
talked about
especially.
that.
Yes.
And we said that especially in our curriculum, because like we said, our curriculum really guide how we turn out, right? And if you're being taught something that is not needed in the industry, no one is going to hire you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and regardless of whether you have a computer science degree
Or not. You
Yes.
read the theory, but
you read the
whoa,
theory, man.
it's
It's
not
not
even
working.
helping.
No
But
one is even
for
using
you,
Pascal even
now
now.
that you were in an international TS, I think for yours it's a bit different. Like for your course was more.
Was the curriculum different?
Yeah.
Yeah,
practical.
super different. I can vouch for that school. They should pay me to vouch for them.
Yeah.
On a serious note, yeah, computer science in our school was way different. I did Python. I did everything that people are doing in the. I did
the
Python.
bootcamps.
I did PHP, Laravel, but my first job I was doing Laravel. Like a lot of the things I did were easily transferable. Even .NET, the .NET I'm doing right now in my current
you
role,
did it.
I did it in school.
So it doesn't cut across to
It
all
doesn't.
institutions.
Yes.
But kidogo Kenya, I don't know about the rest, but yeah, it's not.
Now that the fees is becoming more expensive, I hope they change.
Yeah.
the
Comment
curriculum.
boot camps.
Is it true you guys were coding in Notepad? But no, this is a very serious question because we were doing. I told you.
Plus.
Yeah, our code, not our code. Sorry, our course, as I said, is kinda into tech. So I remember we were writing. What were we writing exactly? We were told open Notepad, and then I was there. I didn't take it even seriously at that point.
Because you couldn't even see the output.
Yeah, it
I
wasn't
understand
making
you
sense.
though. Understand.
Rona, did you code Pascal in notebook?
I know.
I think
we
it
did
was-
it on paper. On paper.
That's even worse.
We did it on paper.
No, but then it gives you an edge when you're going for practical interviews. You normally know those two interviews where you just
Not
go in
Yeah.
and
But no, it's true. Let her give.
No, it's true though. There are some interviews where you go, and they tell
But
you to
yes, whiteboarding, no problem
exactly.
But
But
the quality.
as a beginner, even you agree with me. Sometimes when you started with the HTML, the fact that you could see the output on the browser, like it even motivated you.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Even you see Sublime Text or Atom or Visual Studio Code, and there's a way it makes you feel like you're doing something as compared to if you're doing it on Word, Microsoft Word, right? So I think it's a motivating factor.
Ever
it's not
seen?
even practical.
It's not practical
Because
enough,
imagine
it's not.
your how do you even cram? We used to do exams where you're told write a whole Java program. How do you? I mean,
Public
you're
static
writing
void.
and then you're trying to remember. Okay, what was the
Void.
other one? Void.
Curly brackets.
Yeah, it doesn't even
Curly
make sense.
That's a lot.
And it's not
System.
even practical also in the industry because
not
right now, if you get a
practical.
job today and I give you a project and you're like, right, build this, you're not going to start thinking about public void. You just autocomplete and focus on the logic.
That's where AI comes in. Okay, we'll be jumping into another topic. But anyway, I think from what we're hearing, there is some advantage. But I think the baseline is, despite you having done a degree or not, you have to put in the work.
Yeah.
True.
Because, for example, if Rona learned Pascal and out here she's now doing Python,
Imagine.
I'm thinking if she didn't like study
Yeah.
or maybe even
Market
gone for
relevant
that
skills.
exactly, she wouldn't be here right now.
That's
Same
true.
goes to Diana, right?
Yeah.
Huh?
You studied, and we have in common that we are
Yeah,
still
like
learning.
we have to study all
And
of
we
us.
have to.
Yeah.
So basically, all this is to say that I think the banter should stop, really, the push and pull on Twitter, because now when that Brian Mwenda case came up, there was some comments that computer science graduates, I don't know, fighting for something with bootcamp students.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really didn't sit well with me because
I think there's some sort of entitlement that comes with
that
the
degree.
fact that I have a degree
Yeah.
and deserve this job more than she deserves it. But let's be real, guys. There are, as you said, there are pros, there are cons, right?
Yeah.
But the degree itself is not an enough qualification. You have to back it up.
It's not.
So please, I feel like the competition is really meaningless if you've not put in the work and you are put on a performance metric and you're not measuring up. There's no need. So if all these things also, there was even the whole one on salaries, on how bootcamp graduate is asking for 1 million and the other one is asking for 20,000.
Yeah.
It's all these things. So
I think it's a lot. We wouldn't be able to cover it a lot, like the whole of it today.
Yeah.
But then looking at the future, what are some of maybe things you'd talk about? Because I think we are towards the road of changing how we learn. Especially there are universities that have already adapted a new curriculum and they're trying to teach their students how to better prepare themselves for the ever-changing world and everything else. So I think it's time we give our parting shots because we are finishing. Rona?
Yeah, for me, I would say what is common between all of us is that we, again, keep learning. And I feel like the boot camps really give skills. There's pros and cons of each. And so I don't think at the end of the day, we'll be judged based on your skills and how good you are at it. If I came there with just my CES degree and told them I have a computer science degree, I don't think that's enough to just get me the job. So the skills matter. So if you're able to acquire them in any way, whether bootcamp or university, go for it.
Mongina?
Craft your skill. I'll also say craft your skill. Be the best. You can only control the input, not the outcome. So jikaze. Hii life ni kujikaza.
Yep. Kilonzi.
I'm talking to someone who is considering pursuing the degree and going to a boot camp. I would say do both. Or
like me?
Or go to yes, or go to a good, scrutinize the school before you go and see
+1 on that.
Then see the kind of curriculum they have. Then go for the computer science degree. It will give you a broader perspective as usual and also give you more options. Sometimes maybe you think you're a software developer, but you could do better as an augmented AI specialist or cloud specialist, all these things. And also whether you've gone through a bootcamp, if you've gone through a bootcamp, put in the work of understanding the theory and get contextual data. There are a lot of courses online from Harvard, from these big
and
universities. They are free. You can always get free certifications and advance yourself.
Exactly.
Like, I understand the bootcamp will sell you as it's the shortest way to get the job and get the money, but you owe it to yourself to keep advancing your skills and qualifications, because at the end of the day, people are going to scrutinize your qualifications. So back it up with something, a certification or a degree, if you can do it in part-time, and just keep learning. Keep learning.
Okay, I think to sum up everything that you guys have said, my parting shot would be you owe yourself your success. So whether you go for that computer science degree, whether you choose to go for that bootcamp, at the end of the day, it boils back to you as an individual. What are you bringing to the table? What kind of skills are you providing for that specific company? What are you choosing to do with what you have learned, literally? Because you might have the degree, you might have gone for the bootcamp, but you're still inadequate.
That's true.
Let's
and the
all
fact
agree.
that you're a computer science graduate does not mean you're better than a non-computer science graduate.
That's true.
Yeah.
And vice versa is true.
Yeah, and
and
vice versa.
And hey, the graduates, you're putting that in bold.
So please, while you're at it, please subscribe to our channel. We are trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, 10,000 followers. Follow,
Road to 10,000.
share. Please share this podcast to as many people as possible. Buy our merchandise. As you can see, we have hoodies.
My hoodie
in
looks very
grey
nice.
and black.
I am very warm,
Only
actually.
at 2,500 Kenyan shillings. Only.
But we might choose to change the prices if the economy turns to behave like this.
But for now, it's 2,500.
Subscribe and follow us. And yeah, we're also available on social media.
Instagram.
On Instagram.
Global Tech Sailors. I'm also Mongina Diana.
Okay, so you can find us on Twitter as GTech Sailors and as Faith_Kilonzi.
Okay. And on YouTube, it's just Global Tech Sailors, and all other streaming platforms, that's Spotify,